Come on, Mike. There we go. Where's my game capture? There we go. So, I'm back, finally. Scream ended rather abruptly on the 11th. Because I suddenly had a panic attack. I don't know why. That's one of the things that sucks about being me, is that's a thing that just happens. And I've had a couple other problems since then. But now I'm feeling kind of better, and I feel up to playing, and I want to finish Beacon Pines. So I'm gonna do that. I've just had the game open, but my laptop in sleep mode for most of the last 4 days. So we're just gonna go right back into whatever scene we were in the middle of. Which I don't remember at all. I don't remember a lot of that night. Such is life. It's that guy. I don't remember what this button's for. What does that mean? His teeth still creep me out.
Mr. Kerr pulled a thick stack of note cards out from his vest. Mr. Kerr took a moment to survey the crowd. He wiped away a single tear. He thumped the podium to emphasize each word. Mr. Kerr nodded confidently, biting his lip. The crowd was silent, in rapt attention. Mr. Kerr methodically made eye contact with each section of the crowd. His voice began to build to a crescendo.
It's a little hard to believe that would be quiet, kind of chirpy noise.
The crowd began to look around nervously. Mr. Kerr quickly flicked through his note cards. He raised his hands up to the heavens.
Not surprised here.
At that moment, a merciless wall of impossibly cold air ripped through the crowd, instantly freezing everyone and everything it touched. For a man like William Kerr, this was a fitting way for things to end. On a stage, with an entire town frozen in rapt attention for the rest of time. The end.
There's that ice again! Whenever I think we're getting close, it comes along and ruins everything! Maybe we should just quit? Maybe you should just close the book, walk away, and never think of me again.
No, I don't mean that. We got a little closer this time. We just need to try again. Please.
Right, I have a new word. Good cop, sly cop.
They'd run the classic good cop, sly cop interrogation. Luca and Rollo ducked behind a barrel, leaving Beck to her task. With a few crisp snaps, she roused Mr. Tolliver. Mr. Tolliver looked down and shifted a bit, testing his restraints. Beck caught herself before letting the surprise manifest on her face. She'd already gotten him to reveal his relation to Gran. This was going to be easy. Mr. Tolliver wriggled a bit in his restraints. Beck quickly removed the ropes. Mr. Tolliver rubbed the growing knot on his forehead. Beck twirled her hand, as if to prompt Mr. Tolliver to finish her thought. Beck shook her head and clicked her tongue. Mr. Tolliver let out an amused huff in agreement. Beck was on a roll now, playing Mr. Tolliver like a fiddle. Heading for the stairs, Mr. Tolliver hesitated and turned to Beck with a puzzled look. She grinned and gave him a peppy wave. With a shrug, he continued up the stairs, whistling a jaunty tune.
Rollo!
Beck blinked slowly in disappointment.
The battery is fully charged.
She turned to the table and began tearing small scraps of paper. Beck marked each scrap of paper and leaned back.
Wait, really? Yeah, I think it's all
Luca
there.
and Beck looked at Rollo with amazement.
Grin's new drugstore. least leaning on it. Fill it. I still don't know why I have the ability to jump.
Gus looked around nervously. Eris's cry hung in the air.
Yeah, she's got a pretty valid point there. Hey, there's the boat. Hey, is it Dawn or is it somebody else?
Solomon stood proudly at the
Solomon.
entrance to the drugstore, holding a brown bag overflowing with black licorice.
I recently discovered that I actually kind of like Finnish salted licorice, even though I hate licorice in general.
Solomon shoveled a surprising amount of licorice into his mouth. Beck cupped her hands on the glass to peek inside.
There might have been something else to look at, but it was really, really obvious. I mean, it's brightly lit. It's a new drugstore.
Beck flung open the door and they all squeezed in. Luca cracked his knuckles and entered the letters into the keypad. The inside of the phone booth dropped loose from its shell. Without even the space to panic, they closed their eyes, held their breath, and accepted their fate. Suddenly, the chaotic descent slowed to an effortless landing. It was unclear where they ended up, but at least it was solid ground. The air was stagnant and smelled vaguely of chlorine.
I kicked the mic. Whoops. Oh, so I have to go look at them. Ooh. 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 Hi there. Just saw your chat. Night's going pretty good. Just got started about 20 minutes ago. How's your night going?
Rollo's hands hovered over the field of blinking buttons.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. 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 Didn't even know. I have no idea if this game is available on PS4. I'm pretty much strictly a PC gamer. Ooh. 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 Hey, it's Nencrude. I've got an Asus ROG Strix Scar 17 and a ThinkVision for my secondary monitor. Ooh. I like it. It's had some problems because I downgraded it to Windows 10 because Windows 11 is a pile of shit. So some of the drivers are a little hinky. But it I've never had a problem playing games. The only thing I really consistently have a problem with is the onboard speakers on the computer, because the drivers, and then every rare once in a while, my Bluetooth devices will crash and it'll bring the whole machine down. But that's not exclusive to being downgraded to Windows 10. That's just a thing that can happen. Ooh, ooh. God, he looks like such a creep. I don't even care if he's not trying to be a bad guy. The fact that he aggressively hits on your grandma and also has that face.
Joseph waited for a moment in silence.
Yeah, I run a lot of peripherals. Partially because the onboard speakers don't work, but I try to shut off anything I'm not using in the moment. And then I forget. I mostly have crashes when I'm like playing an MMO. Yeah. Because I have a Bluetooth 12 key mouse that I use for that.
He gestured toward the strange tubes.
I play Palia pretty regularly. I'm kind of working my way through my Steam library. So sometimes I'll play, just like do a run on a casual game like Balatro or, you know, some numbers go up game. Other than that, I'm kind of working through all the story-based games that I have. No, and there's a chat rule against advertising in my chat for sites and channels and services. That does include art commissions. Ah! Game lost focus. That's always a struggle working dual monitors is game losing focus while I'm doing a thing. I'm not interested in purchasing any commissions, and I'm not connecting with anyone off of Twitch.
Nuncreed let out a growl of a sigh. He shook his head wistfully. Nuncreed took a menacing step towards the children. Luca began to laugh. The color drained from Nuncreed's face.
What's the color drained from a furry's fur-covered face? Fur doesn't exactly change color like that. I guess his nose would get pale.
Nuncreed grabbed Luca by the shoulders. His eyes were frantic. A jolt of realization struck Mr. Nuncreed.
I love that his ears are getting sucked backwards by the vacuum of the tube. That is such a brilliant little detail. I like the fact she's a great kid. Very
Chapter
fun.
8. The Cold, Hard Truth. Beck leapt up, allowing the suction to yank her into the dark. Dimness eclipsed around her like the shutter of a camera as she seemed to cover great distance in mere moments. Her only points of reference were glints of upcoming turns, which approached with frightening speed, only to carom her gracefully along. She heard the tinny, distant echoes of Rollo's glee. Once she stopped fighting against it, the ride was impossibly smooth. Then, all of a sudden, as if minutes had passed in an instant, light blazed into view. A burst of wintry air snuffed across her face, and she was flung out into the cold.
I think Rollo peed himself. Oh, that looks like a face. We'll have to come back to that. Wait a second. That's the tree. That's Dad's headstone. That's where the house should be. That's the sign of town.
As they rounded the corner to the frozen town square, they spotted Mr. Nuncreed inching cautiously toward a pit at its center. He held his arms out gingerly, as if approaching a beast in the wild. Upon closing the distance, Luca recognized what Nuncreed was after. Gran stood confidently at the edge, one arm outstretched over the abyss. Nearby, a wheelbarrow had been emptied out. She held a lit torch, which flickered in the bitter wind. Mr. Nuncreed turned back toward the kids, desperation in his eyes. Rollo and Beck held steadfast in awe. Luca approached closer. Mr. Nuncreed spun back toward Gran, his voice growing louder. Mr. Nuncreed winced with anguish. His voice hardened. They both now yelled, not to each other, but at fate itself, making their peace with long-held burdens. The wind howled with encouragement. They menaced at each other, both catching their breath. The moment balanced on a knife's edge.
Alright.
Amid a blur of emotions and memories, Luca's mind flooded with questions. The wind calmed, as if to give him the stage.
The only word I
And
have.
in the stillness, he began to weep. It was all just too much. Falling to his knees, Luca whimpered softly. The tears crystallized as they hit the snow. Gran stared at Luca for a moment with warm sympathy, remembering why this was all necessary. She stiffened up and brandished the torch at Mr. Nuncreed. Ignoring his final plea, Gran flung the torch into the deep darkness. She smiled and exhaled in relief. Mr. Nuncreed moaned in resignation. The torch echoed as it ricocheted down the hole, punctuated with a thunderous thud. Before Gran could finish, the ground shook her to silence. Gran only had time to spin around and run to Luca, her attempt to shield him, an honorable but trifling act. Unflinching love, pitted against an unthinking horror, there was no contest. Her warm embrace froze in an instant. That is where they remain, fixed in place, forever. And so, our story ends on this melancholy scene, in a town brought low by its secrets, sits the frozen statues of a misguided band of meddlers. The end. Well, that was dire.
I feel like the narrator's
On the bright side, we finally figured out where all the ice is coming from. Now, we just need to find a way to deal with a mystic, unfathomable force of nature.
okay. Time to bust out the tickets.
Well, time to bust out the tickles. Beck lunged forward and began to tickle under Tish's arms. Tears began to form in Tish's eyes as she gasped for breath between gales of laughter. Beck redoubled her efforts until Tish finally had had enough. Iggy's eyes darted around, a realization dawning on his face that he was now outnumbered. Iggy kicked at the puddle before making his escape.
No!
Beck shook the ooze out of her hair as best as she could. Chapter 4. The Best Policy. Luca paused for a moment, catching his breath. He'd only just met Beck, and somehow he already managed to drag her into this mess. Hopefully he could make it up to her, but finding Rollo was his primary concern.
Alright, can't walk over that because it's horribly, horribly toxic.
Roxy and Fitz looked drained. It was clear they'd spent all day searching. Roxy's temper could often be dismissed as the impatience of an older sibling, but this was the most intense Luca had ever seen her. Her eyes were wild and unfocused, looking straight through Luca. In a torrent of rambled words and tears, Luca broke down. Roxy, still exhausted and angry, softened briefly as her eyes hunted the ground in thought. With a determined sigh, she looked up at Luca. Roxy drew herself up. Roxy tried to think of the safest place to send Luca. Luca wiped his cheeks and gave a quick nod.
Who's your dad?
Looking into the puddle, Roxy rubbed her arms to warm up. Mr. Nuncreed jumped with a start.
Nice audio sting.
Luca motioned to the phone booth. Mr. Nuncreed gently placed one of his substantial hands on Luca's shoulder. Luca peered up at Mr. Nuncreed. Kind eyes warmed a stern face. There was a deeper emotion hiding beneath it all. It was subtle, but Luca could sense something eating away at him. There was a shame lurking behind those eyes. A deep sadness. If Mr. Nuncreed was that worried about Rollo, maybe he could help. Mr. Nuncreed raised an eyebrow. Mr. Nuncreed's shoulders slumped. A deep sigh bellowed from his chest. Luca attempted to take a step back, but Nuncreed's hand clamped down on his shoulder. With a firm shove, Nuncreed manhandled Luca into the phone booth. The door latched shut with a mechanical hiss.
I definitely need more charms, but I don't
As
know where
Luca
to put
pounded the
them up.
glass, the floor dropped from under his feet. The inside of the phone booth was now a loose capsule, plummeting at gravity's whim. Luca winced and pressed his hands to the walls. As he braced for impact, the capsule hurried to a surprisingly smooth stop. He felt a cold rush of air and opened his eyes with hesitance. Two large figures in hazmat suits occluded his view. Luca heard the deep, resigned voice of Mr. Nuncreed over an intercom. He knows too much. The end. Wait. No. This isn't the end. I know there's still much more. Somehow this went wrong. Okay, let's try something else.
Oh, so Iggy's mutated, and Mr. Kerr and the clipboards are trying to capture them.
Luca drew himself up and decided to take the only option they had left. Flight. He squinted down the barrel of the mission control defense cannon, aiming it through an opening in the dense tree branches. He looked up with surprise as it struck true and taut.
They do just flip the sprites, which is fine most of the time, but not when it changes which side of Iggy's face is mutated. Oh, that's even creepier face than he usually makes.
Luca and Iggy winced as they sprinted through the thicket. The branches clawed at them, reluctant to give passage. After what felt like a marathon, Luca stopped in his tracks as they reached the clearing. What the? That was all he was able to say before Iggy slammed into his back. The boys tumbled down a steep decline and crashed with a wheezing thud on a surface as hard as ice. In fact, it was ice. Chapter 5. Signs. They stood silently, catching their breath. The sky was like sapphire. With each breath, a plume of steam escaped from Luca's lungs. Let's keep moving. Luca pulled Iggy to his feet as they gazed across a snowy terrain. Luca had almost forgotten the walkie-talkie he was carrying. Luca looked at Iggy with hesitation. With a resigned sigh, Luca responded. Luca winced, shoving the walkie-talkie back into his pocket. The boys stared in disbelief at the sign that now clearly read, "Welcome to Beacon Pines." The fencing glistened, each chain link encapsulated with a translucent layer of ice. Looking down at the frozen stream, Luca could faintly see a school of minnows encased in the ice. The crunching of footsteps trailing Luca went hush. He looked back to see Iggy's face twisted with confusion. Luca peered upward at the darkening sky. He let out a long, foggy breath. Faintly, Iggy began to cry. Seeing Iggy in such a pathetic state gave Luca a sense of compassion, and more than a little guilt. Luca allowed himself to collapse next to Iggy. The boys huddled together for warmth and comfort. If not for exhaustion, their minds would be racing, trying to make sense of the events of the day. As it was, all they had energy for was to sit in silence, numb. Iggy motioned sarcastically to his half-deformed face.
I was being a horse's ass. That you were, Iggy.
Iggy shrugged.
Oh wow, actually exploring the motivations behind why some kids bully.
Iggy now wept openly. He wiped his nose with a sleeve. Luca gave a warm chuckle. Iggy cleared his throat as he wiped his eyes. Iggy arched into a wide yawn. Luca's eyelids began to slowly drift shut.
Because falling asleep in the snow is a very bad idea.
That's all Luca could whisper before succumbing to sleep. Iggy snuggled in some more. The house smelled of warm bread. Luca was playing with toy blocks on the living room rug. He looked up to see his parents on the couch. His mother held his father's head in her lap. She idly stroked his hair while humming a song. A voice behind Luca spoke. "This is how you remember them, huh?" Luca turned to see his own face. The doppelganger from his dreams, still clad in a yellow hazmat suit, still carrying a look of disdain behind empty eyes. Aww, look at this perfectly cozy scene. You know it wasn't really like this. The figure picked up a toy block and inspected it. It's amazing the facades that one can build given the right materials. Not that I blame us. These are a child's memories, all warm and fuzzy. You don't remember, do you? Luca snatched the block from the figure's yellow-gloved hand. Remember what? The doppelganger pointed to the couch. The last day we saw him alive. The day he chose to abandon us. Luca turned to look at his father, still lounging on the couch. That's not true. He didn't abandon us. The doppelganger waved his hand dismissively. Everything is true here. It's just a matter of what we choose to see. Let me show you. The world flickered and pulsed. Luca was sitting next to his bed, listening to his heartbeat with one of his dad's stethoscopes. The doppelganger limped into the room. No, we both know that's not how this went. He grabbed Luca's hand and guided the stethoscope to the floor. Luca heard muffled shouting, brought close by the stethoscope. It was his parents, fighting. Do you remember what we did next? Luca gave a slow nod and crept down the hall to peek through the banister. He could see the outline of his mother at the bottom of the stairs. Damn it, Walt. We can't afford to get involved in this. She was scared. His father stepped forward. What am I supposed to do? Just watch? There's a sickness in this town, and we both know who's behind it. I swore an oath to help people. I won't turn my back on them. Luca's mother grabbed Walt. She was crying, pleading. I can't lose you. Walt calmly removed Eleanor's hand from his shoulder. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. I could never live with myself if I let Sharper get away with this. Eleanor raised her voice. Spare me your bullshit platitudes. What about our son? Luca flinched, dropping the stethoscope down the stairs. Walt turned with a panicked smile. Luca, is that you, buddy? With tears in his eyes, Luca descended the stairs. Mom? Dad? What's going on?
I can take half a second between lines of dialogue to
Walt dropped to a knee to meet
have
Luca eye to
myself
eye.
candy. Fuck me.
Nothing, Buckaroo. Your mom and I just got a little overexcited is all. Luca placed the stethoscope against his father's chest. His heart was racing. It sounded like you were going somewhere. Walt gently removed the device from Luca's ears. Listen to me, Luca. I have some business to take care of. I'll be back in time to tuck you in. Luca hugged his father tightly. Promise? Walt stood up and walked to the door. He glanced over his shoulder. I promise. With a wink and a grin, he put on his hat and strode out into the evening sun. A figure approached soundlessly from the foggy snowfall. It stood above them, lingering in contemplation. Slowly raising one hand above Iggy, it snapped out 2 brisk raps on his head. From a deep slumber, Iggy sprang up defensively. Whether it was the calming presence or the recognition that he was not in danger, Iggy felt his clenched fists lower. Luca looked up, gradually remembering his whereabouts. The figure exhaled a cloud of warm vapor. When it came to complete strangers, Iggy had trouble cobbling together an insult.
Oh, this is getting extra weird again. Admittedly, we just went from one of those artless scenes with the doppelganger to somebody else doing it.
Iggy huffed with gratification. Nat began to turn away indifferently. Iggy turned sharply and began to stomp off. Realizing he'd worn their patience then, Nat relented. Luca and Iggy turned around with hope in their eyes. Nat took a deep breath in. Nat exhaled slowly, then snapped his fingers. For a brief moment, Luca and Iggy let themselves believe that some great magic was about to unfold, until they opened their eyes and found themselves in the exact same place, cold and disheartened.
Huh. So they live in a fake Beacon Pines? It does that.
Nat narrowed his eyes, furrowed his brow, and uttered, Luca began to laugh uncomfortably. He looked down at his feet. His eyes darted back and forth in contemplation. With a sudden pain, a thought struck him. He sprinted off into the pale distance. As Iggy turned to follow, Nat called out, Chapter 6. The Source. Nat expressed his sympathy with a shrug and sauntered off as unassumingly as he'd arrived. He'd given Luca and Iggy what they needed, and nothing more. As Luca sprinted across the snow, the events of the past few days became clearer, pieces to a larger puzzle. Rollo said he was underground somewhere, captured. Mr. Kerr tried to cover it up with lies. The clipboards were hell-bent on capturing Iggy. It all seemed to point to Perennial Harvest. But right now, there was one thing that Luca needed to know. Luca stopped dead in his tracks. The tree was gone, uprooted and moved, leaving a raw gash in the earth. He dropped to his knees and dug wildly at the cold snow. His numb hands hit something hard, a headstone. A dry whisper escaped Luca's lips. There was no reply, just snow-covered silence. Iggy finally noticed the tears welling in Luca's eyes and the snow-covered grave. Suddenly, they heard the crunch of approaching footsteps in the snow. He bent down to scoop up a snowball and lobbed it playfully. Luca stuttered through heaving sobs. Iggy gave Luca a solid smack on the back of his head. Luca wiped his eyes with a sleeve. Iggy flashed a mischievous smile and cracked his knuckles. A disc of smooth metal was lightly covered in snow. Two faint seams were visible along the surface. Iggy and Luca shared a skeptical look. Iggy darted behind a large pine and began digging furiously. He emerged holding a shoebox with a crude skull painted on its lid. Luca rolled his eyes with realization. Iggy stifled a chuckle. Iggy triumphantly raised the shoebox.
That's so fucked up. Osiris. I'm getting cat cuddles.
Luca and Iggy inched up to the edge of the hole with bewilderment in their eyes. Arctic air breathed out of the cavern in heaving gusts. Mr. Kerr gazed down the abyss in contemplation. Kerr scratched the back of his head. His face contorted into a saccharine grin. Kerr snapped his fingers. Iggy turned to Luca with a sly glance. Iggy waved the box into the air, threatening to drop it down the hole. Iggy plucked a single bottle rocket from the box and held it up with reverence. After a long pause, Mr. Kerr flung up his hand with frustration. Mr. Kerr sighed into the frigid air. With a nonchalant flick, Iggy tossed the firework into the hole.
Okay, but that shouldn't actually... Why would that do anything? It's not like it was lit.
With a growl, Kerr leapt at
Ooh,
Iggy, crashing through
extra
Luca.
crazy.
Iggy tried to twist away, but in the struggle they both tumbled over the side. Luca dove forward, bracing Iggy's hand just before it slipped. His grip was made precarious by the cold, wet snow. He could see Kerr further down, clinging to Iggy's coat. Mr. Kerr gasped with insult.
Can still play 25. Not that he is 25.
With a wild look in his eye, Mr. Kerr began to hum a proud melody. Luca's hand began to cramp. His voice began to crack. Luca felt Iggy loosen his grasp. Every muscle in Luca's body burned. Luca felt his hand slipping. A calm settled over Iggy's face. Iggy's voice was colder than the bitter air billowing from the chasm.
Actually have both of them. We're gonna see them all at some point.
Luca had no choice but to accept Iggy's request. With a quiet blink, Luca watched a teardrop sail down into the howling void. As his fingers slowly gave up, he met eyes with Iggy. The two silhouettes were swallowed by darkness.
Pretty sure this leads to the taverns.
We have some idea what that would look like.
Yeah, we do.
A fierce twinkle flashed in Nat's eyes. With a chuckle, Nat turned and walked west. Dumbfounded, Luca followed behind him, trudging through this every step, taking him further away from everyone and everything he knew, and closer to destiny. To be continued in Beacon Pines, Pines Harder. Revenge served cold. Second time's a charm? Wait, that's it? This ends with a cry crummy cliffhanger just when it was getting good? I was even starting to like Iggy. No way. I refuse to be associated with some never-ending parade of sequels. Let's go back and find something more definitive.
Wow, I really didn't expect that. Where does so Hum's up there. And we don't have the one for Crooked yet.
Luca had no choice but to refuse Iggy's request. He tightened his grip and reached for the walkie-talkie in his pocket. A wild delight crept onto Mr. Kerr's face. That's a good lad. Now, radio for help. Iggy begged Luca with his eyes one last time, but Luca pressed the button and called out. We need help. Mr. Kerr is in danger. It wasn't long before they were once again surrounded by clipboards. Mr. Kerr sighed with relieved frustration. There you are. You really are a worthless lot, aren't you? Mirror, now. A clipboard dutifully produced an ornate ivory hand mirror, and Mr. Kerr began preening his tousled hair.
Jesus Christ.
Ah, that's better. Mr. Van Horn, I applaud your sharp thinking under duress. I'll put in a good word for you with the founder. Take them away. A swarm of hands overpowered Luca. The last thing he saw before a cloth bag was pulled over his head was the defeated look on Iggy's face. The end. I think this was one of those times where doing the right thing was the wrong thing.
Alright.
And in the stillness, he began to hum. After the death of his father, Luca had trouble sleeping. Each night, his mother would sit at the foot of his bed and hum a gentle melody. It was the only thing that could calm his mind.
God damn it.
The only thing that, however briefly, could make it all seem okay. That melody pervaded every memory Luca had of his mother. Shivering in the raw snow, he began to hum it out loud. Gran lowered the torch, listening closely. As recognition slowly set in, her heart sank. Those countless nights of consolation, the incomparable loss they shared together. She let the torch fall to the snow and sizzle out. A few steps toward Luca was all she could bear before dropping to the snow herself. Through a flood of tears, she began to hum along, note for note.
Oh no, is Gran his mom displaced in time? I really hope not. That would be so fucking sad.
Luca lifted his head in astonishment. The last time he heard that melody was the last night he saw his mother. blinked through blurry, watery eyes, trying to see more clearly. He could just make out the impression of a familiar face. He peered across the snowscape at the woman on her knees. Something about her was undeniably his mother. Only smaller, older, changed. Luca sprinted as fast as he could toward his mother. They held each other close, and the cold retreated from their bodies.
Like Mr. Nuntrick just scratched his chest there in idle animation.
Eleanor looked down at Luca, tightening her embrace in an appeal for forgiveness. Joseph slumped into the cold, wet snow. For the first time in a long time, her voice felt like her own again. Luca gazed down at Nuncreed with pity. He looked small. Joseph stared into the snow as if searching it for answers.
Who is he?
Chapter 9. The Devil You Know. 7 months ago, Eleanor Van Horn crept down the maze of sterile hallways under perennial harvest. She stopped in front of the large steel door marked Deep Engineering. No turning back now. She raised a trembling hand. The stolen keycard worked as promised, and the door buzzed open with mechanical efficiency. She was immediately hit with the smell of disinfectant. It was some sort of laboratory. In one corner was a desk covered in papers. Across the room stood a tall metal pod with hoses protruding from its base. She rushed to the desk and began shifting through the piles of papers. They were experiment reports on something called Tempus Liquamen. There were dozens of them, every one stamped failed.
I'll admit that's not how I would have spelled Liquamen.
Eleanor heard the sharp echo of footsteps approaching. She was out of time. Her eyes scanned the room, eventually landing on the strange pod. Muttering a curse under her breath, she dashed over and dove inside. Mr. Kerr addressed the crowd with a sarcastic tone. Whispers filtered through the crowd.
Hey, go Nuncreed. Kid, what are you doing?
Torment dragged on Joseph Nuncreed's face.
Oh my god. Is that Sharper Valentine?
He paused for a moment, plucking a piece of fuzz from his sweater and discarding it to the ground. Kerr gave a bow of deference. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Solomon pulled a glass vial from his pocket. In one smooth motion, he downed its contents. A triumphant smile grew across Solomon's lips.
Yep,
His body
called
and
it.
face began to contort and expand as he disappeared into a belching green mist. A hushed horror gripped the crowd. This is a story about change. Sharper examined his new hands.
Nobody wanted you back, man.
Sharper choked out a crude squawk of a laugh. Frustrated grumbles sprinkled through the crowd.
Ooh, a new charm.
William Kerr gave a subtle nod to the clipboards. A helpless quiet settled over the crowd.
Like the lady with the book is sitting on the bank of the river, still just reading. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, no, Sharper deserves to be in a hole. No, he's still in the middle crowd. Jesus fucking Christ. Puffed up lather sky. That's one I haven't heard before.
Sharper addressed the crowd with indignant pride. He'd planned this moment for so long that now, at the deed's fruition, it almost felt frivolous. Mr. Kerr flourished a preposterously elaborate bow.
We saw that name somewhere. It was a book in the library. Was it an autobiography claiming himself to be the greatest actor of his generation? I think that's what it was. Bill, Bill Kerr was a patsy. Oh my god! Oh my god. It's so good. It's so good.
Sharper coughed up one final laugh and cracked his knuckles. And so, Sharper set about remaking the town in his own image. The fertilizer factory soon reopened for business. Sales rose steadily as more and more farmers across the countryside began to swear by its miraculous properties. Beacon Pines became famous, a secretive town that, for the right price, shared its gifts with all. Gifts that became more and more necessary in a world where winters grew longer and longer. The end. This is wrong, but things are becoming clearer now. You can feel it, right? We can't let Sharper win. He might just be the key to this whole thing. Let's see.
Alright, where do I have an unused gun? Aha.
There was a malice lurking behind those eyes, like a trap ready to spring. Luca felt the weight of Nuncreed's hand on his shoulder. Something wasn't right. He didn't know why, but something was telling Luca to get out of there. Luca twisted free of Nuncreed's grasp.
Nope, that's not what I meant to do. Checking to see if there are any... I don't see anything else. I'm surprised I have access to the library right now. Alright, see you guys.
Jeff's hardware closed down about a year ago. The effects of the foul harvest stretched wide. When there are no crops in the field, tractors don't need fixing. The two scurried off, eagerly formulating a plan.
Used crooked even. Oh yeah, I should see if I have any. Do I have any new baits? I do.
Luca tied a bent nail onto the line. If all you have is a hammer, Luca wrapped a twig thumbfish. He aired a long holler into the woods. Luca felt his eyes getting heavy and plopped into the beanbag. He conceded to its lumpy embrace. Once again, Luca found himself in a vast black expanse. This time, he knew exactly where to go. He took a single confident step forward. The world flickered and pulsed. He found himself standing in front of the frigid air of a blazing campfire. The source. He plopped down cross-legged and gazed into the cold flame, waiting. Soon enough, the fire began to die out, popping sporadically, until all that was left was a single ember. Luca stood up and dusted himself off. He plucked the glowing ember from the cold ash, examined it, and slid it into his pocket. A keepsake. The voice of his father spoke behind him. You made me proud, Buckaroo. Luca turned to face him. Dad, what is this place? A warm grin grew across his father's face. A place where everything that has been and everything that could be all wait together. Luca found himself staring at his father's face, trying as hard as he could to memorize every single detail. Wait? For what? Another voice spoke out as Luca's doppelganger stepped forward. That's up to you. Without knowing why, Luca began to weep. Is any of this real? Are you real? Luca's father bent down to smudge away a tear. Of course. I'm as real as the part of you that misses me. Luca turned to look at the older version of himself. And you? The doppelganger choked back tears. I'm as real as the part of you that's angry he's gone. Does that make sense? Through his tears, Luca laughed. I think so. His father pulled him in for an embrace. Time to go, Buckaroo. Luca was startled from his dream by a banging on the floor. A commanding voice rumbled from below. Just as Luca sprang to lock the entry hatch, the door knocked open. Chapter 5. Dangers big and small. Luca stumbled back. He heard the rope ladder creak under significant weight. Keeping his eyes fixed on the hatch, he inched backward to the balcony. As his hand grasped the door handle, Luca froze. a large figure clumsily wriggled up through the hole.
Oh. Yeah, I kind of saw that coming.
The large figure cocked its head inquisitively. Luca's jaw dropped. He peered more closely at the man standing in front of him. Something about him was undeniably Rollo,
Just like the undeniably mom thing.
only bigger, older, changed. Rollo proudly presented his hands to Luca. Luca moved to the side and pointed Rollo to his reflection in the balcony window. His hands shot up to his face.
He still jogs in spot.
Rollo shadow boxed a few jabs. With a yelp, Rollo dove behind Luca.
Her forelock's blue now. Bad. And she's wearing a hat to hide her hair.
She shot a nervous glance at Rollo. Beck's eyes narrowed.
Jesus, kid. Yeah, just dump random chemicals in your hair.
tried to put on a smile.
That was mean.
She sighed, and after a moment, looked down at Beck sympathetically. She flashed a sly grin and tousled Beck's hair.
Dr. Prescott was a dead body in the dumpster.
Luca gave Rollo a quick elbow to the ribs.
Even tougher than
Beck flicked a large sheet of paper out of her pocket and slammed it on the floor.
This is a heist.
Rollo started to wiggle with excitement.
Yep. I love Rollo.
Chapter 6. The Heist. They spent the night's end huddled around that small map, formulating a plan to infiltrate the headquarters of Perennial Harvest. It would be no small feat, a modern facility equipped with all manner of technology. Not to mention the swarm of clipboards that would most certainly be scattered throughout. By the time the sun began to peek through the car window used as a makeshift balcony door, all were in agreement. This could just work. The final day before the festival would be used to prepare. They'd need to pool every resource at their disposal, pull every favor with a thread. Even enlist some unsavory characters around town with important tasks only they were suited for. Luckily, there was enough ill will and mistrust toward Perennial Harvest that alliances could be found at a bargain. Luca, Beck, and Rollo rubbed their eyes as they exited the treehouse. They hadn't slept at all that night. There was no time. The festival was to begin in one day, and they each had their assignments. He waved vaguely at Rollo's sizable figure. Beck snorted an involuntary giggle. They each looked at each other with sleepy confidence and nodded.
Yeah, we already know what that's about. We don't know objectives. Hey. I think I've said something along those lines before.
Jeff wheezed out a long snicker. The joy in Jeff's face drained instantly. Looking into the sullen eyes of his would-be accomplice, Luca blurted out the first word that came to mind. Luca wasn't ready. He shouted out.
I think I know. Oh, is it this one?
Jeff's brow perked up. Sensing some
Aw.
traction, Luca carried on with vigor.
I wanted to see what shit said, but I frankly thought shit was gonna be the keyword.
Jeff's scowl faded with a sigh. One good stomp of. Luca offered out his open hand with a firm and dusty grip.
Yeah, so I'd have to start this whole section over again to try. Lame. Look, next time I have to do things, I'll run this over again real quick.
Iggy raised an eyebrow suspiciously. Iggy gave a reluctant shrug. Luca knew they'd need. He tried again. Iggy gave a reluctant shrug.
Alright, we'll try it. Yeah, it's fine.
Iggy gave a reluctant shrug. Iggy considered the point. A wild-eyed grin spread across Iggy's face. Iggy glanced over to Tish, who nodded in agreement. With a quick nod, Luca was off. Iggy gazed up at Tish with a smile. A single tear ran down Tish's cheek. Chapter 7.
She's just like. She seems like a perfectly reasonable conversationist. Or, like, she could be, and she just, doesn't have anything to say to most situations.
Into the hive.
Not that she can't, just she doesn't.
A good heist requires preparation. And thorough preparation takes time, something they had precious little of. So far, everything was in order. Jeff, Iggy, and Tish all agreed to do their part. Beck radioed Luca that night with a simple and covert message. "We're locked and loaded on my end." And Rollo, after a lengthy confession, managed to persuade Roxy and Fitz to help. He stowed away in mission control for the night to avoid attracting attention. Rollo, being uniquely suited for the role, would be the first to breach Perennial Harvest. The outfit provided by Jeff wasn't perfect, but a convincing disguise is 10% wardrobe, 90% confidence. Rollo took a few vigorous breaths and shook out his arms.
Oh, I love this kid.
He had to think quick. Rollo sighed, adjusting his tool belt.
Oh god, that scared look on his face.
With a stroke of his mustache, Rollo proceeded into the Perennial Harvest headquarters. He stammered and flipped through the pages of his clipboard. Rollo interrupted with urgency in his voice. Rollo panicked.
Oh, Rollo, you were so close. He just needed to have a name ahead of time. Perennial Hamilton.
The distraction was enough for Rollo to regain his confidence. The clipboard fumbled around in a frenzy. Solomon stopped in his tracks. A veneer of confusion flashed across Solomon's face.
Oh, shit. Right, they don't know in this timeline.
His words rushed out dramatically. Solomon's facade briefly faltered. Luca happened to notice a plaque above the door. Luca tried the handle. Solomon leaned forward to examine the mechanism. Luca smiled and looked at his watch.
Oh, she quit animating for a second there. That's a good way to get yourself shocked to death.
She mimed a quick hat tip and ambled off with a whistle. The light on the keypad changed from red to green. Luca switched on his walkie-talkie. On the computer screen, a green cursor blinked in a password field. Luca pecked out his best guess: underground secrets. The screen blinked to life. Columns of green numbers glowed on a black background.
Yep.
Solomon's jaw clenched into a half smile. Luca quickly scanned the columns for number 24601. Once again, Luca scrutinized the numbers on the screen. In that moment of distraction, Solomon reached forward and pressed a large red button. He quickly skimmed the screen with his finger. Mr. Kerr approached with a sneer and spoke into his walkie-talkie. With self-satisfaction, he called into the hallway.
Huh. Yes, she did.
Nellie leaned over to examine his teeth. Nellie sighed. Solomon muttered inaudibly. With a subtle, quivering lip, a smile crawled across Solomon's face. Solomon once again muttered under his breath. Luca tugged on each of the cabinets. Luca held his hand up to the ashtray. They heard the trampling of frantic footsteps from the hallway.
Except that.
Her eyes searched the floor in thought. Solomon watched eagerly. waiting for the flicker of epiphany. With a sickened look, she peered into his soul. Solomon clapped with genuine delight. Solomon glanced down, examining his youthful form. Kerr presented it with a theatrical twirl of the hand. Before he could finish, Rollo snatched the vial from Kerr's palm. Rollo casually tossed the vial to Luca. Luca jiggled the vial mockingly. She held it tightly behind her back. Solomon sighed, speaking in crisp, measured syllables. He pursed his lips with feigned sincerity. A deep uncertainty washed over Beck. She looked to Nellie shakily with a dispirited nod. Nellie sighed in defeat. Beck slowly approached Solomon. With apprehension, Beck conceded. Solomon pocketed the vial and brushed off his shoulder with a sharp flick. The blood drained from Kerr's face. Solomon shook his head with gratification. A muffled applause resonated faintly through the walls.
Nope, it's not over because we're still
Nellie was
here.
staring at the floor, deep in thought.
Time wounds all heals. Nice. Just make sure there's nothing else I can interact with in here.
The color dropped from Luca's face. Luca was overwhelmed with emotion.
Sorry if she had this information.
A sudden explosion sounded from the hull. Chapter 8. Comeuppance. Ears still ringing, Gran picked herself up off the ground. Through the dust and smoke, she looked over to see Mrs. Fratelli helping Hiram Tolliver to his feet. She'd had to beg, borrow, and steal to acquire those explosives. How many nights had she spent visualizing how she'd use them to make things right? And now, her one shot at destroying the source, that damned hole that swallowed so much of her life, was gone. Traded for this jagged hole in a wall and a foolhardy shot at rescuing Rollo. With Fratelli and Tolliver at her side, she stepped through. It was a strange feeling. The last time she'd stalked this maze of hallways, it was in a different body. They quickly rounded a corner to find a group of clipboards guarding a door. Something worth guarding is probably something worth seeing. She leapt forward, brandishing her cane. If her last chance at vengeance for things lost was truly gone, she would just have to fight to keep what she still had.
She knows
They made their
exactly
way
what
out from deep within Perennial Harvest, just as Solomon finished up his speech. Solomon pulled a glass vial from his pocket. In one smooth motion, he downed its contents. A triumphant smile grew across Solomon's lips.
Oh, she fucked with it.
With a mischievous look, Beck elbowed Luca. Remember when I had the vial behind my back?
I want to see.
I
what
might have
this-
tweaked his wonder potion with a little malice. His body and face began to contort and expand as he disappeared into a belching green mist.
Oh my god.
The crowd gazed in stunned silence at the now empty stage. The quiet was broken when William Kerr sprinted off stage and into the distance. He was never seen around Beacon Pines, or anywhere else for that matter, again. Watching the silhouette of Kerr disappear over the horizon, Luca began to laugh. First, a low chuckle that became uncontrolled, heaving laughter. Through his tears, he was vaguely aware that the crowd had begun to laugh with him. The end. That was unexpected. Perhaps a bit of an absurd ending for my taste, but who am I to say? I'm only writing the damn thing.
Alright, is there anything else I haven't? Okay. For completion's sake, I'll have to go back and, find the cafe.
I might have tweaked his wonder potion with a little junk. His body and face began to contort.
Yeah, I kind of saw that coming. And then the change will be like pennies and it'll turn him into a statue, right?
As the last of what was once Sharper Valentine wafted into the air, the crowd began to disperse, still numb from what they had just observed. Sharper Valentine was gone for good. His end would be a new beginning for Beacon Pines, a new chance to let go of the things they had lost and grab hold of a new future. The end. Well, I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a bit gratifying. If that feels to you like a good note to end on, I won't stand in your way.
One more. Because change has been like the thematic thing for like the whole game. Change is a dangerous thing.
I might have tweaked his wonder potion with a little change.
That's right, the unlucky penny.
His body and face began to...
Oh! That is not the face of an innocent child.
Eris awkwardly cradled the squirming child. She looked to her brother, her voice shaking with uncertainty. She looked back down at the infant with equal parts kindness and terror in her eyes. With a shake of her head, Eris addressed the crowd with a stern scowl. Epilogue.
Well, hey.
Beacon Pines' coldest summer on record came and went without much fanfare. Folks shared what they had, and none were left wanting. The new school year was ushered in by the falling leaves of autumn. After everything Luca, Rollo, and Beck had been through, middle school was bearable. The chill of winter didn't seem to bother people much. They kindled a hope for a better future in their hearts. When spring arrived, farmers planted their crops with a sense of joy and optimism. And as the dawn of the first day of summer came again, its light slowly spread through the shallow valley. It crept over the town square, across the river, past the neglected welcome sign, and came to rest on a young boy sleeping at dawn. His mind at peace, knowing he is here for a reason. Over time, Eleanor began moving Walt's old things out of the closet and into storage. Eleanor had moved back into her bedroom. And now that she wasn't sneaking out late, she even slept there most nights.
I'm sorry, I don't remember in this timeline her actually confessing to being Eleanor instead of Juniper. I guess that's just something that happened off screen. I had to do that one this time. Make headstones removed. Well, he looks much happier.
When Perennial Harvest collapsed, most of the clipboards skipped town. But some stuck around and dedicated themselves to making things right. Eris did her best to ignore the tears welling in her eyes.
Aw.
Closing her eyes, Miss Hatch took a deep, relaxing breath.
Ooh, that bass riff. There's somebody I think we've seen what, a couple of times. Oh, can I do all?
Luca
I can
squinted
do all
at the
those
faded
things
photo of him
now.
and his mom at the time. Memories of that day came.
Cool. Now I can do this. Dead fish and peppers. Jeez, Jiminy Christmas. It's very cute. Here, let's see if I throw this one. double adorable.
Mr. Nuncreed reached down and patted Luca's shoulder with an enormous hand. Mr. Wilder adjusted his monocle jokingly.
What a silly burger. Yeah, lavish. Row, row, row your bird. Yes. Got the achievement.
Mrs. Fratelli glowed with a carefree smile. Mrs. Fratelli sighed with a zen-like calm. He playfully waggled an apple.
Oh! I couldn't figure out who her dad was when she mentioned him earlier. It's him.
A bit much, if you ask me. Luca peeked over Piper's shoulder. Laid stealthily inside a large volume of mathematics was the first issue of Hank Atomic. Over the school year, Kato and Bert had become close friends. It typically went on like this for quite some time. Mr. Nuncreed shook his head. With perennial harvest gone, the transportation tubes were left unused. Well, maybe not completely unused.
I'm a little surprised that there's no action.
Luca peeked up at the beehive. It appeared to be deserted.
It's the bestie. Oh boy, that is a wall of text. Esty just had a cool, weird sort of green, let's see, kind of akin to dungeon hotel, and just like weird shit happening in space.
The Valentine Mansion, both figuratively.
I think that was a sort of, well, if you haven't already talked to everybody, then talk to everybody. I think.
I think this is it. The end I've been waiting for. Honestly, I began to lose hope of ever finding it. But then you came along. I don't know exactly how to thank you. It's hard to explain how much this means to me. It's funny, now that our time together is finally ending, I'm at a loss for words. Let's just watch the end together.
Looking at the achievements, I missed 2. Born in a barn and melon kicker. I tried! Like, I kept going back to that melon and just... So I'm gonna have to... We're gonna check guides. Alright. I have to go make sure that my chickens are in while the credits continue to run, and just have a break, and when I come back, we're gonna knock out those final 2 achievements. I'm back. Hmm. So.
We were just gonna go chill for the day.
We're now achievement hunting.
The best life? Easy.
Think I can hit both of these at once? That was so cute.
For a town that saw few. Chapter 2. Welcome to Beacon. For many years, it wasn't over the neck until in the on certain nights, Rollo thinks he.
I love Roxy's design.
Rollo Luca knew he had. In the past, he found the best way to deal with an enraged Roxy was to be a little shit. As the glowing windows of the old warehouse came into view, the boy sat petrified under the... Rollo... He snapped off it. Rollo helped... Lucas sat in the dark, tracking the sound of 1:15:35. Screw it, Luca. Nothing. No sign. Time to halt. Luca He was up. He can pine. He wouldn't throwing. Chapter 3: Finding a friend. The next morning, if only the sound of... Grand, she let out...
There we go. So there's one.
This is a story about struggle. Luca could hear a machine humming somewhere nearby. He felt his hands. He yanked it. Let Luca He heard the with a muffled. Luca was free. Chapter 3. Everything. The next. Only this.
Single-minded purpose. There we go. That's it. That's the last of the achievements. That's it. That's everything. Let's see, it's 11 p.m. I could... Oh, we definitely need to. That game's done. Here, we'll throw this one up. Do I want to play Power for something else? Yes. Alright. I'm gonna stop this stream so I can swap into my other scene collection. Get the